Here's an important concept that we need to talk about: athletic transference. Athletic transference is exercises or a routine or training, the ability to transfer what you're doing to the sport or the action you're going to be doing. For our purposes, how well does your training transfer to making you fight better? There's athletic transference and there's something I call negative athletic transference. Some exercises that you do or exercise routines actually make you worse at your specific performance, right? Negative athletic transference is something other people do and we don't. You have a strength and conditioning routine, endurance routine, or aerobic routine, or a lifestyle that makes you a worse fighter. Athletic transference or transferability, those are the terms that strength and conditioning coaches use. But I say, well, if it works backwards, if it makes you worse, then it's negative. So that's specific to me. So negative athletic transference, some exercises you do have a deleterious, have a negative impact on your sport, on your performance, on your fight. The three areas that you got to watch out for. First of all, if you're stretching for a warm-up or prior to your workout, you're about 20 years behind the curve. If you're stretching after your workout, you're about 10 years behind the curve. If you're not stretching at all, hopefully you've got something to replace it. I know you guys do because I talk to you. Stretching, negative athletic transference. We'll talk about that in a minute. Stretching is not synonymous with flexibility. Flexibility is good. Stretching is not the way to get it. You see this a lot with boxers. Take a 5-pound dumbbell and shadow box. That is called simulation training. I saw this javelin attached to a rope, attached to a pulley, attached to a coil, and they try and throw it. So they add resistance to their sport-specific exercise. What that does is it mucks up your engrams. Your brain has files, and across is a complex file. It takes a very specific engram, it takes a file in my brain to shoot the message through my body and recruit nerves and muscles in a very specific order. If all of a sudden I add resistance here, I have this big long lever arm, so now I'm resisting this force. So it's actually an engram that's more like this than like this. Also, if I have a 5-pound dumbbell, it's going to move more slowly than if my hands hit unresisted. Different engrams. Now it's fight time, and I say, okay, right hand. My brain has to not only see the opening and react, it has to go, well, do you want this one or that one, or a version kind of mucked together of the two? And that's usually what you end up with, something a little bit slower, a little bit less accurate. The battle ropes. They are great for non-athletes or battle rope competitions, but there is negative transference to strikers. It confuses the engrams, and this, no matter how fast you go, is too damn slow to be punched. Okay? So it's actually slowing you down when it comes to right? Yeah, so instead of doing some random exercise that, that's the cross-fitting it up, it increases your cardiovascular and gives you some strength benefit. Why aren't you punching the bag? I say that there's 3 speeds. There's skill, which you go over how to learn something. There's drill, and then there's kill. That's 70 to 100% speed, where you should be doing a whole lot of work. and I don't see a lot of work being done. I see a lot of work, first of all, I see a lot of work that shouldn't be done. Why are you running a marathon? There's a lot of endurance type stuff that not applicable. I'm a power expert. I'm an expert in making you bigger, stronger, faster, meaner, boom, boom, over and over. The conditioning that we do, it's not strength and conditioning. It gets lumped together, that's when it gets cross-fitted up. It's synonymous with fucking it up, but you're taking power exercises and training them in an endurance fashion. It doesn't increase your power and it doesn't increase your endurance. It increases your risk of injury. When you're doing circuit trainings, lifting weights for aerobic benefit, no. Resistance training is for power and strength. Cardiovascular, well, we'll talk about that, but you do that when you roll on the mats, when you wrestle, when you're hitting your bags. Huge mistakes that I see. Circuit training. Trying to get strength benefits and cardiovascular benefits simultaneously. What you end up with is a soup somewhere in the middle. Also, plyometrics. Plyometrics is for explosivity and speed. And you will see people do plyometric circuits and start doing endurance training and lose all the benefits of plyometrics, and now they're just hopping around. Okay? Jump training and plyometrics, not the same thing. Plyometrics are very specific and incredibly useful if you know how to do it right. I'm not saying that jump training, there's anything wrong with it. Know the difference between plyometrics and jump training and when to use each. So, simulation training, don't do it. Keep them separate. Auxiliary strength training, separate from your skill training. I believe it's better to do no auxiliary strength training and be really good at your skill and your training than do all your training and bad auxiliary sports training. Now when I say auxiliary, it means extra work. Joe Lozon has not done any, or so he says, hasn't done any auxiliary strength and conditioning. And he's been very successful. He's kind of the example of, well, learn your skills right, do your training, and train other people, and I don't think I'm going to call them out by name, have actually come up strong and then all of a sudden puttered out. The training that you're doing is making them slower, less aggressive, worse fighters. Most injuries occur because of the strength and conditioning. So what's happening is you're getting overtraining, you're getting guys that don't have control over your class environment, you don't have control over your sparring environment. Well, you've got this boxing coach and a kickboxing coach and a wrestling coach and a jiu-jitsu coach. And nobody's talking to each other, blah, blah, blah. So the training aspect you don't have control over, and then you hire a fucking sports and conditioning guy and he beats the shit out of you. So now you're overworked here, nobody's communicating there, and you get injured either sparring or on the weights or on the track. 90% of the time, it's because you are overworked, because they're using programs that are designed for other sports and trying to bring it in to this sport. So S.A.I.D with periods in between, it's a mnemonic device. Specific adaptation to imposed demands. What that means, you get better at what you do, you don't get better at what you don't do. So you can go and run a marathon, it's not going to help you with your swimming or your fighting, especially your fighting. Specificity says that what you do, you get better at doing. And every little variable that you change outside of that affects specificity. So the example of punching with a dumbbell, this is why simulation training doesn't work. It's because it's just enough different to make it not irrelevant to make it bad, to make you worse. Speed-specific training, very difficult to do. The beauty of striking is it's a speed, velocity-based sport, or system, style, whatever. So your pad work should be your speed work. Your bag work should be your power work. When it comes to weight training, we're going to get into plyometrics and complex training and talk about that. But for right now, these specific sport-specific, speed-specific, speed strength exercises have not been developed because Matthias and I have not developed them yet. Other than that, all the shit you see on the internet, forget about it. Don't use it.